Hey guys, welcome to Students Groups. Wow, that's a lot of S's. My name's Tyler and I am a senior at Simone Wright High School, or I guess I'm a senior at my house because we're virtual learning. It's weird, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm Jake and I'm the Mountain Road Students Intern this semester, and we're excited to start this week as kicking off Students Groups.
Absolutely, and it's really good to be back together, and I know that God is going to do something awesome with our time.
Yeah, and that's really what it's all about. Being back together isn't just about fun and games, even though we hope you're having those in your groups. It's about drawing close to God and also drawing close to each other.
So, welcome to Students Groups. Those of you who are watching these videos on your Students Groups night, we hope you enjoy this time with your group.
And for those of you who have maybe just stumbled across this content and stuff on your own, we encourage you to find some kind of a community that lets you be who you are and lets you wrestle with these important topics. And we'd love to invite you to be a part of this community. So
click the link in the description or follow us on Instagram and click the link in our bio there.
Yeah, well, let's get started. Tonight's speaker is one of our pastors here at Mountain. She is the campus pastor of our Mountain Road campus. Liz Acosta, come on out.
Hi. Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey Liz, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Okay, Liz, we have a game that we want you to play. It's called Pick Their Nose, and it's a game that students played this year at CIY Move. So on the screen, we're going to show you some famous noses.
Okay.
Now they're celebrity noses, and you're going to have to try to pick which celebrity belongs to the nose.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
First nose.
Oh geez, I don't know. Tom Cruise.
Ooh.
Let's see. I don't know. Leonardo Dicaprio.
Ooh, so close. It's actually a girl. It's actually Charlie D'Amelio.
I was so close.
I'm not gonna say you were so far off. Maybe, Kate. This one's a little easier.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, gosh. Okay, Tom Hanks maybe.
Right gender, on the right track.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
Harry Styles.
Okay.
You aren't doing so hot.
I'm noticing these are all younger actors that are out of my time frame, my generation. I'm not doing good here. Give me some old folks.
Yeah, you're getting the right gender. You just got to bring the age down.
Yeah. Oh,
Ooh.
This is a man.
Ooh, okay, good.
With a mustache. Will Smith.
So close. Kanye West.
Oh, okay.
That was
going to be my next guess.
Okay, I believe you. This next one, it's definitely, you know who this person is.
A white-nosed person. I should know who they are. I don't know. Tom Hanks.
It's a girl. Nope. Meghan Markle.
Can you give me hints? That would be good. If you gave me the nose and a hint.
She's very famous. Incredibly talented. She maybe sings.
Jennifer Lopez.
She just released a new album over quarantine, about quarantine.
Gosh. Oh, I don't know. Taylor Swift.
Yes!
Oh, I got it!
Really?
Oh gosh! I didn't even know she released a new album.
Yeah.
That was a total guess. Why don't you show me their ears? I bet you I can guess their ears a lot better.
Really?
No.
You've said this person many times so far.
Tom Hanks!
There we go.
And I would have not even guessed that on this one. I was gonna go for like an older person.
You kept saying them.
I know. I felt like, Tom Hanks is my
Eventually
favorite
he's
male
gonna pop
actor.
up if
Exactly.
you keep saying it.
You see? Ooh.
This next nose, you've also said many times.
Will Smith.
Yes!
Yes!
Oh.
Oh, I'm getting better at this. There's hope. This is so
You're
great.
getting better, but you did reach the end.
Oh.
So you weren't good enough.
Well, thanks, Liz. We're looking forward to hearing your message tonight. And so you're going to go get yourself ready for that. And we'll give you a little intro, but thanks for having
All right, cool. See you guys soon.
This next video is the beginning of our first series called Family Matters. Face it, we've all been stuck inside for what seems like years now with our families, and all of us have had different experiences with it. So, since that is the case, it makes sense for us to hear a few messages about what God says about our families, how we can relate better to them, how we can handle the stress that comes with it. Having school from home and my parents working from home, I see my parents a lot, and it's overwhelming and very stressful, and I know that I need some guidance from God about that.
Yeah, and so let's welcome Liz back on the screen as we start week 1 of Family Matters.
Family. What do you think about when you hear that word? Since I'm Latina, we use the word familia, and that always resonates in a warm way for me. You see, growing up in the Hispanic culture in South Miami, la familia is often a very important and core part of who someone is. Here's a picture of me and my familia in Miami a few summers ago. There's no COVID then, so we weren't social distancing at all. But you do see us pretty closely embraced, wrapped together in a family's embrace in that picture. The only one missing in this picture is my older sister Monica, who wasn't at that particular family gathering. But in the picture, you see me warmly embracing my brother Lazaro, whom I've always admired and I've always looked up to. And next to him are my mom and my dad, Sylvia and Felix. And on the opposite end is my younger sister, Jennifer. So I guess I'm like a middle child, although there really is no middle when it comes to 4 siblings. Nonetheless, I did have 2 siblings to look up to and 1 to be an example for. Our family was pretty close-knit growing up. We had Sunday dinners with extended family, we had vacations to Disney World, and we had fun day trips to the beach. My parents were both working immigrants from Cuba who would work very hard to provide for my familia and I. I often attribute my strong work ethic to the example that was set forth by my parents while I was growing up. My sisters and I, we all loved school very much, and we often looked up to my oldest sister, Monica, for help with our harder school assignments, because she was the smartest after all. And hey, maybe you're like me, and for you, family brings some good things to mind, some warm memories. Or maybe for you, it's the exact opposite. For example, you hear the word family and you think frustration, because your stepsister constantly acts like her time is more important than yours. Or maybe you instantly get annoyed because your parents are super strict and they give you a ridiculous curfew, like you've just joined the military or something, or you feel like they're being overly cautious about getting you out of the house in this COVID season. Or maybe for you, you think of chaos, because everyone in your family is either fighting or running a million miles an hour. You know, on the spectrum of awesome to awful, family is rarely ever in the middle. And if it's awesome 1 minute, then it can change in an instant. And our feelings about our families are not the only things that are unique to us either. It's actually the literal makeup of our families that also looks unique. For example, some of you, your family means a mom and a dad. And then some of you live with an aunt and an uncle. Some of you have a stepmom or a stepdad, grandparents, foster parents, half siblings, or second cousins. Every single family looks different for each of us. Every family is very unique. And the truth is, every family is in fact different and unique. Every family is like a snowflake or like a fingerprint. No family looks the same, and no family acts the same either. However, every family has one thing in common. It's complicated. Family is complicated. Can I get an amen? I once heard someone say that nobody's family can hang a sign outside of their door that says, "Nothing the matter here." And that's because families are imperfect, and they're flawed, and they're complicated. Whenever you put a bunch of different personalities under the same roof, then things get difficult quickly. People have different opinions, they have different preferences and needs and ways of communicating. It is a recipe for disaster. And if I had to guess, each of us has experienced a disaster or two with our families, haven't we? And what happens when disaster strikes in families? Well, as a way to deal with the madness, almost every person settles into a role that they play in the family. Think of it as your role of making your family situation work. You see, you get a role and then you play it, and then it keeps things somewhat predictable and manageable. For example, some of you, you're the mediator in your family. You're always trying to keep the peace and make everyone happy. This was my role in my family. And some of you, you're the avoider. You keep your head down and you keep your mouth shut and you mind your own business, and eventually this is all just gonna go away. Sometimes this was also my role in my family. It just depended on the argument. Growing up, I saw my dad play this role almost my entire life. Some of you are the instigator. Every time you see something going wrong, you get in the mix, you give your opinion, and you let everyone know what they're supposed to do. That was my brother Lazaro. Like that one time when I got suspended from school, and I overheard him in the other room tell my mom, yeah, you just wait and see. This is how it all starts. Criminals, they start out like this at a young age, and then it only gets worse. Ha, brother, now I'm a pastor. Some of you are the smart one. You're looked at as the brains of the family. And this was my older sister, Monica. Some of you, you're the follower. So you avoid trouble, and for the most part, you do what you're supposed to do. And mostly, this was me too. Some of you, you're the comedian. You turn around any situation, positive or negative, and you turn it into a joke. This was my dad too. He's a pretty funny guy. And this list could go on for days with different roles. I think that you catch my drift. But I want you to think about something. I want you to think about, what is your role in your family? Is it one of the ones that I've mentioned, or is it something else? Sometimes this role is influenced by where you are in the order of your siblings, step siblings or half siblings. If you want to, if you're watching this during your group time, you can pause the video here for a moment and take a look around at how your roles play a part of your birth order. How many of you are the baby of the family? How many of you are the oldest? What about any middle children? Any only children? But there's one more twist. Now we're gonna add faith into the mix. I recognize that not all of you who are watching would say that you have an active faith in Jesus, and that's okay. You belong here, no matter what you believe. But perhaps you were forced to hop online for this message by someone in your family. Or maybe your family sends you to church as a form of punishment, or in hopes that they're gonna fix you. Or perhaps you're watching this on your own and you're curious about what God says about your family. Listen, there's a lot to that, but we mainly just want you to know that regardless of how you got here, we're so glad that you're here, and we believe that if you're willing to listen to what God has to say about family, then you may leave this space inspired to do something different about your circumstances. But for those of you that do have an active faith in Jesus, however, your faith can also add a complication to the mix when it comes to your family. Because sometimes I bet that it feels like faith and family, they don't really mix very well. Maybe you feel confused because you're not sure how you're supposed to live out your faith in your family. Maybe you're the only Christian in your household, and because you love your family, you would love to see them develop a faith of their own. But how could you possibly influence them in a way that isn't awkward? Maybe your mom and your stepdad, they expect you to act a certain way because you claim to be a Christian. And there's a certain way that Christians are supposed to act. And honestly, that's just too much pressure. Maybe your faith is starting to look a little different than the people you live with. You don't want to offend anyone by disagreeing, but the truth is, you don't see eye to eye with them on every aspect of faith, and that creates some tension. Or perhaps you're having some significant doubts about what this faith means. You may not have a lot of freedom in the realm of your schedule, but you do have that freedom of mind. And as a middle or high schooler, you're beginning to poke and prod about the faith of your parents. Or maybe faith has been a part of your family for a while, but when you look at your family, you're not sure that it's working. Faith is talked about and prayers are prayed and churches attended, but the arguments and the tensions aren't solved. And you love the people that you live with, or at least you like them sometimes, right? But it doesn't seem like faith is solving any of your complicated issues. For a lot of us, it feels like faith is one thing and family is another thing. They feel totally separate. And that can't help or change anything or anyone. So do your faith and family even collide, or do they echo each other? Should they? Is that even possible? And if so, then what does that even look like? I want to take a look at a passage today from the book of John where Jesus was with his closest friends. And after spending 3 years living and traveling with him, they would have probably felt more like family. And so in John 13, the night that Jesus was arrested and the night before he was killed, we find Jesus having a final meal with his friends. And no one but Jesus knew that it was their final meal together before everything changed. So you can imagine how complicated this must have felt to Jesus. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them till the end. Just like you love your complicated family, Jesus loved his disciples. Side note, to put it in simple terms for you, a disciple is someone who is following the ways of Jesus. They didn't do everything right, not by a long shot, but Jesus still loved them. Knowing that his time with them was coming to an end, listen to what he did. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, he took off his outer clothing, and he wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. If you think that this sounds awkward now, you have no idea how awkward it was to the disciples. Even though foot washing was common back then, imagine how nasty those feet got from walking along those dirt roads in sandals all day long. Jesus was a teacher and authority, and people in his position, they didn't wash other people's feet. That was what servants did. So the disciples, they didn't know how to respond to Jesus' crazy act of kindness and service to them. And Jesus goes on to explain that one of them would betray him. And he told Peter in front of everyone that Peter would deny his friendship with Jesus altogether. It was a complicated moment. There was a lot of competing emotions. And with all of that happening, Jesus told his disciples this: "A new command I give you, love one another. As I've loved you, so you must love one another. And by this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." Jesus is saying, you remember what I just did minutes ago for you? How I acted like a servant and I washed your feet? How I humbled myself? How I chose to honor you when things got confusing and strange and complicated? How I showed my love for you? And then even when it felt awkward, I did this. I want you to do that for one another, to show that kind of love and service and devotion. And by showing that kind of love to each other, everyone around you is going to know that you are my followers. You see what I did? Go and do that same thing. In other words, how will people know that you're a follower of Jesus? How will you show the people closest to you that you follow God? What will the people around you see that tells them about your faith? Here, let me help you. It's actually quite simple, and I'm wearing it on my shirt. Love. This seems like something that Jesus would say, right? But when you think about the fact that he said it after he just washed their feet, makes it extraordinary. They had no idea just how loving that act was. Jesus knew that a close friend would betray him and that another close friend would deny ever even knowing him. And despite all of that, Jesus is still focused on love. And he gave us an incredible example of what we're supposed to do with the people who are closest to us. We are to love. Your friends, your teachers, strangers, and even your wild and wacky family, they're gonna know your faith by the way that you love. In the middle of kindness that's unappreciated and misunderstood, you love. In the middle of betrayal, love. In the middle of denial, love. In the middle of unfairness, love. When your parents are wrong, yes, we are wrong sometimes. Love. Demonstrating love through difficulty, that changes you. It makes you more like Christ. And that should be the goal for all of us. God wants to use our family, the good and the bad, as something that grows our ability to love. Why? Because love is what matters most, friends. So what does it look like to love in the middle of complicated family situations? The Apostle Paul, he would later write about love, and he would tell us. He wrote about it in what is famously known as the love chapter. And I want to read that to you now. It's found in 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 and 7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. And it always perseveres. If we were to ask Jesus or Paul what faith would look like in our complicated families, I think this is what they'd say. They'd say this. They'd say, let your faith in Jesus move you to love the people that you live with. Love with patience, love with kindness, love in a way that honors the people around you, love in a way that is slow to anger and it doesn't keep a record of wrongs. In other words, if you want your faith to help your family, well then show as much love as you can. It never fails. Think of it this way. When it comes to your faith and your family, love matters the most. Trying to love this way can seem overwhelming. So here's a good way to start. Which one of these applications of love stands out to you? Which one do you need to focus on bringing to your family now? Is it kindness? Do you need to be more patient? Do you need to take it easy and not be so quick to get so angry? These things don't make you a doormat either. No, instead they allow you to be a doorknob, turning and opening the door for you to be a demonstration for God. People step on a doormat. They wipe their feet on it. That's the sole purpose of a doormat. Oh, but a doorknob, that's different. Because a doorknob, it can be unlocked, allowing itself to be turned so that someone can walk in through a doorway to a whole new sight before their eyes. So pick one of these things and ask God to give you the power to start demonstrating it with your family. It could mean that you start being more patient with your parents when they ask you to do something that you don't want to do. It could mean being more kind to your siblings when they drive you crazy. It could mean not being arrogant when you think that you're right or when you want to talk about what you believe. It could also mean celebrating and affirming others when good things happen in their life, instead of being angry because those things didn't happen for you. It could mean not being rude to your stepmom or not being hot-tempered in your reactions with your dad. Even if you wouldn't call yourself a church person or a Jesus follower, being more kind and patient or being slower to get angry will still absolutely help your family. If you're someone who would say that you have faith, then love is the best way to demonstrate it. Jesus, he said so himself. Don't take my word for it. Open up your Bible and read it for yourself. I realize that this sounds nice to hear, but I know that it's not easy, especially within a family. There's no way that I can address every complicated, unique family situation in one talk. And that's why we have students groups, to be a place where you can talk about it and you can process it. And I know that this may feel impossible, but imagine if your family could actually be better than they are right now. And imagine if your faith could actually grow because of your family. We believe that that's possible, and we'd love for you to talk to God and your students group about it this week. Because when it comes to your family, your faith matters. And when it comes to your faith, your family matters. And when you combine those two, well, then love matters the most. So as you head to your students groups, I want you to think about this question. Ask, what's one way I can show my family love this week? Guys, we love you. Have a great discussion time, and we'll see you next time as we continue to talk about how family matters.
What Liz said was spot on about our relationships, and especially about our family relationships. Loving our families can be complicated and super frustrating, especially during quarantine. But ultimately, what God desires for our lives is that we are dedicated to His principles, and none of those more than love.
Thanks, little Liz, for that. Now, before we go into groups, I've been hearing something that's coming up. Now, I know nothing about it. It's called The Hunt. Do you know what it is?
I do, but I can't tell you right now.
That's annoying. What if you just told me?
I don't think I can do that, not even just you. But what I can tell you is that it's taking place Wednesday, October 28th in your groups. So mark that date on your calendar, get ready for it, and we'll have more information for you over the next few videos coming up. But for now, it's time to circle up with your groups and talk through what Liz said tonight.
Oh, so I should go to my group right now?
Yeah, you gotta get out of here.
I'm gonna be very late. Oh.